A Typhoon Dolphin triggering extreme weather in parts of Asia. The eastern coast of China battered by torrential rain, the storm moving inland after making landfall yesterday. Dolphin's influence also reaching the Philippines, its northern region flooded with the storm intensifying seasonal monsoon rains. Some parts experiencing a month's worth of downpours in just a little more than a week. At least 13 people killed and about 500,000 in the region affected. Jhesset Enano has been tracking developments for CNA. She joins us live from Metro Manila. Jhesset, we've seen major flooding in Metro Manila, but other areas affected as well.
Yes, Wei-Su, the heavy rains have subsided today in Metro Manila and nearby provinces, but the combined effects of the southwest monsoon and the two storms that have ravaged the country in the past week have really led to a lot of flooding across different cities, and we have seen millions of people evacuating their homes over the past few days. As was mentioned earlier, the National Disaster Risk Council has reported about 13 people dead and many others remain to be missing. In the past few days, we have seen people fleeing from their homes, wading in knee-deep and chest-deep waters towards evacuation centers where social workers and local officials have gone to help provide them with shelter, food, and some relief while the rains continue to batter their homes. We have also seen the floods and heavy rainfall affect agriculture across the country, with millions of crops submerged in flood water and about 6,000 farmers heavily affected by the storms. We've also seen considerable damage across schools, many of which have been used as evacuation centers. The Department of Education has reported about 4,000 to 6,000 classrooms that have been destroyed or damaged because of the torrential rains. According to the State Weather Bureau, the rains are supposed to persist in the next few days, but we are hoping to have considerably better weather throughout the latter part of the week.
Jhesset, this is, as we mentioned, the typhoon exacerbating monsoon conditions, monsoon rains for the Philippines, typhoon season as well this period. So it's not surprising that you see weather as we are seeing right now. The government is an ongoing task to build the kind of infrastructure to manage weather like this. Would this be more difficult given the ongoing difficulty over scandal in flood control projects?
Well, President Ferdinand Marcos today earlier led a press briefing where several government officials were present, and they reported that compared to the past few months of rainfall, the situation of flooding across Metro Manila and nearby provinces has considerably gone better. And this is due to the continuing work of the Public Works and Highways in inspecting and making sure that the flood control projects that are supposed to be preventing these disastrous situations are actually being used and are actually being effective at the time of the typhoon season. But the government officials themselves admit that there is much work to be done. Earlier today, San Juan Mayor Francis Zamora, who also leads the Metro Manila Council, urged the local government for the need to create a master plan so that the flood control projects and the flood control management strategies across cities in Metro Manila and even in other provinces across the country will be properly integrated, and so that people will not have to deal with the worst effects of the flooding during this time of the year. This sentiment was also similarly echoed by Senator Francis Pangilinan in an earlier statement where he said that there is really a need for a national comprehensive flood control management as well as a full accounting of all of the flood control projects and all of the funds that were supposed to go to these projects in the past few months.
Oh, thanks. Jhesset Enano, they're reporting for CNA live for us in Metro Manila. Eastern China bearing the brunt of Dolphin's onslaught. Zhejiang province, where the typhoon made landfall yesterday, remains under the highest warning for flash floods. More than 1 million people were forced out of their homes. CNA correspondent Christelle Chia tells us more.
In eastern Zhejiang province, that's where Typhoon Dolphin landed. There were waves of about 6 meters eroding seawalls. And in Taizhou, we saw streets turn into very fast-flowing rivers. Trees are toppling onto the roadsides, and some coastal towns have faced power outages. Now, looking ahead, the focus has already turned to recovery efforts for some places. Officials are prioritizing draining areas that are near essential buildings, such as hospitals. Major roads are also progressively being reopened, but authorities continue to urge residents to stay vigilant, especially as Typhoon Dolphin is expected to bring heavy rain to many parts of China. Even places like Beijing, which is in the north, they are also expected to see some impact. Now, officials have not yet released any official statistics. They say that numbers on potential deaths, property losses, or missing persons will only be released later, and cautioned against believing some of those unverified social media posts.
Well, it's very different in Hong Kong. A Typhoon Dolphin fueling extreme heat with record temperatures yesterday. CNA's Jeraldine Yap joins us live from Hong Kong. Jeraldine, we just heard that from Christelle Chia. So torrential rain in eastern mainland China, but extreme heat in the autonomous in Hong Kong.
Yes, it's been a scorching couple of days here in Hong Kong, although the heat has subsided a little bit now that night has fallen. And there's actually been a bit of a breeze today, so it's felt not as hot. But still, for most of the day, the temperatures have remained above 32 degrees across the city for the most part of the day. Earlier, we were at the waterfront area and we saw, tourists still going about taking in the sights and, snapping photos, and the locals were also around exercising, going on the evening run. We did see a lot of people holding a cool drink, portable fans and umbrellas as they were going around to try and beat the heat. Some people that I spoke to, they said that they were already feeling physically the effects of the heat. So, for example, they were getting a headache. And we did see over the weekend as well reports of people being airlifted to the hospital, for example, because they had fallen ill, taken unwell while out on a hike in the heat. We also saw a report of one person who had collapsed while he was hiking and was later declared to be dead. So to give you a sense of how hot it has been here in Hong Kong, the temperature of 36.9 degrees that was logged yesterday was actually the highest temperature that was ever recorded since records started in the city over 140 years ago. And in fact, in one of the weather stations in the northern part of Hong Kong, a temperature of 39.8 degrees was recorded. Of course, it does feel a lot hotter with the humidity as well. And we understand that this extreme heat is expected to persist over at least the next few days, and a temperature of 37 degrees is expected in at least a few sites across the city due to the outer subsiding airflow from Typhoon Dolphin. But the Hong Kong Observatory says that they are expecting cloudy weather and maybe a few thundery showers from Wednesday or Thursday onwards, and that is expected to bring a bit of relief from the extreme heat.
Oh, Geraldine, there is a warning system for heat stress in Hong Kong. Suggestions that this might not be adequate, has not been adequate for this particular circumstance.
Yeah, so questions have been raised about this alert system, given that, it remained at the lowest amber level yesterday, despite the fact that temperatures had reached almost 40 degrees at some of the sites. For context, when the level is raised to red or black, this means that workers with heavy or very heavy workloads should suspend their duties, but this didn't happen yesterday. And industry players are saying that, the requirements to raise the alert level are far too rigid and too reliant on scientific metrics. So the government has responded by saying that the reason why the alert level wasn't raised yesterday was because the humidity was low and the wind conditions were favorable. But they did also add that they are looking at the system and they are reviewing if the system needs to be optimized further.
Oh, thanks. CNA's Jeraldine Yap there reporting live from a very hot Hong Kong.